Hey folks, sorry I'm not here today, but I want to make sure to give you a little extra support before you take your quiz. So just a quick reminder, when you're done watching this video, I know you already saw it on my homework page, but I want you to touch base with the substitute once you've done these examples and are feeling okay, and make sure to grab that quiz. It only has 7 questions, so it's really imperative that you understand what you need to do on each of them, okay? So on the first page, we're going to be looking at standard form, which I know y'all are really good at, ax plus by equals c, okay? But you're also going to be having to do a couple problems that involve finding x and y intercepts. So I thought we'd do one example of finding x and y intercepts and creating a graph. And then on the back side, you're going to have 3 problems that you need to graph a line by creating a table. And again, it's always nice to get a little refresher before a quiz, and I want you folks to do great. So let's get started, okay? Let's say we have this linear equation. I know it's a line because there's no funky exponents. There are no x and y being multiplied together. There's also no variable in the denominator or variables under a radical sign. So it's a line. I don't need to put it in standard form, but I'm going to start graphing it, okay? And again, I want to find x and y intercepts. So to start off, and hopefully you're filling in all the blanks right now. You're like, this is why I know how to do these. Great. It's if you need just a little refresher, okay? To find the x intercept, I want the x, which means that I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So I'm going to rewrite my equation with a 0 in for y. And I know we've talked a lot in class about just kind of crossing that piece out and going for it. That's fine. I just want to show you what it would look like if you like to show all your work. So I'm going to simplify the left-hand side. 5 times 0 is 0. And 3x plus 0, well, that's just 3x equals 10. Now I'm going to divide 3, and I'm left with x equals 10 thirds. Now 10 thirds is hard to graph. So I would grab a calculator, do 10 divided by 3, and when I press enter, I'm going to get that that is 3.3 repeating. So I'm just going to approximate this, okay? My coordinate pair would be 3.3, 0. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, well, there's 4, so 3.3 is about there, and up 0. Remember, we crawl before we stand, okay? You go over before up and down. Every line needs to have a minimum of 2 points, right? So if not, it's just a point. I'm going to find my y-intercept. I want the y for the y-intercept, so I'm going to plug in 0 for x. Again, you don't have to show all this work, but if I want to, I'm going to rewrite this whole thing with a 0 right here. So 3 times 0 plus 5y equals 10. 3 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 5y, well, that's just 5y. If you don't want to write that whole thing out, I don't care. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to divide 5, and I'm left with, this one's a little nicer, y equals 2. So again, my coordinate pair for that, my x value I plugged in was 0, and my y value is positive 2. I'm going to go to my y-axis. I'm going to go up 2, put a dot, connect my 2 dots, and now I've graphed it. You're going to have one problem on your quiz where you have to do all of this and graph it. You're going to have one multiple choice problem where they're going to be asking you for the x-intercept, and a separate problem where they're asking you for the y. Okay? So make sure you understand what to do for each of those problems. Next, when you flip your sheet over, you're going to be asked to graph by creating a set of solutions. And remember, a set of solutions is just a fancy way of saying a XY chart or a table. So let's review making that. I'm going to start off by setting up my XY chart. And then here you might freeze and be like, what do I do now? Well, you know what to do now. You pick 3 values for X and plug them in and get out your Y's. Any 3 you want. If you want to deal with negatives, deal with negatives. If you don't, don't. Okay, it doesn't matter to me as long as when you plot those points, they're on the graph that's provided to you on the quiz. So the easiest ones that we usually start with are 0, 1, and 2 for our x's. So I'm going to plug each of those values in, get out the corresponding y before I plot the points. So I'm going to look at this equation. I'm going to start by plugging 0 in for x. So I'll have 6 times 0 plus 2 equals y. And I'm going to get my y alone. Well, this one's pretty darn easy to get the y alone. It's already alone. So 6 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2, so 2 equals y. So my first coordinate pair is going to be over 0, up 2. It happens to be my y-intercept. Now I'm going to choose my next value. I already picked out the number 1, so I'm going to rewrite the equation, but instead of 0, I'm going to plug a 1 in here. So I simplify on the left. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Oh my gosh, this is so easy. That's how you should be feeling right now, I'm hoping. 8 equals y. That's half of my coordinate pair. I'm going to go over 1, up 8. Ooh, this was a rough example. You won't have one that goes up that high on your quiz. So over 1, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom, there. Now, I'm noticing on this graph right now that when I plug in 2, if my pattern is correct, if I've done all my work right, I'm going to be going up probably to like a big number, right? Adding 6 each time. So instead of going to positive 2, because it's going to be way off my graph, I'm going to go backwards to negative 1. Sometimes you have to change what you want to plug in to make sure it fits on that coordinate grid. So I'm going to plug in negative 1, 6 times negative 1 plus 2 equals y. That's going to be a product of negative 6. And negative 6 plus 2 are different signs. Subtract. Take the sign of the bigger number, then you'll be exact. Negative 4 equals y. So I'm going to go over to negative 1, and I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, put a dot. And if I look, wow, those line up pretty darn good. Okay? Remember, if when you create a table and start plotting those, if one of your points is kind of cattywampus, you need to go back and check your work. All right? I am hoping that this is enough little quick review for you to get you going, you're warmed up, and you guys are going to do a great job on that quiz. Again, when you're done with this example, you're putting away your laptop, grabbing some scrap, grabbing a calculator, and going and hitting up Mr. Fitzgerald for the quiz. Thank you, folks. I will see you on Monday. Bye. Oh, wait. Real quick. You have a flipped lesson for homework. When you're done the quiz, make sure you get the pink sheet. The video is underneath this video on my homework page. Now I'm done. Thank you, and I'll see you Monday.